Hello, hello, everyone. It is me, Alicia Renee. I am the founder of The Confident Lily, and I am the host of She Exudes Now Virtual Talk. And I am just so excited to be here today. I am excited to share with you all and to get into our topic today. So, our topic today, we are talking about something that many people maybe just want to kind of brush up under the rug or just kind of hide feelings when it comes to talking about grief. And so that is what we're going to focus on today, particularly coping with grief during the holidays. We know that this can be a magical time. And people are excited. They're looking forward to taking time off. They're just, happy to be amongst their family and friends. But it is not such a magical time when people are dealing with grief, when you have lost a loved one or you're going through some sort of trauma and just kind of trying to find your way through. So I have been pretty transparent here within the last month or so about a recent incident that I've had with a loved one, a significant other that was in an accident. So taken unexpectedly, and just navigating that process has opened my eyes to what others may be going through. There's a host of feelings and emotions that come along with it, and it is not an easy process. It is particularly harder during the holiday season. So I definitely wanted to be able to give back and to share my experience of what I'm going through. But also, I am looking forward to some inspiration for myself. So, we have today a wonderful individual that is going to join us here, Miss Karla Noland. Hello.
Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you. So, Karla, I am just elated to have you on. We met several months ago, and I reached out to you maybe a couple months ago to talk about this topic, not knowing that I would be, one of the people that would be going through it. So it is just so interesting how things tend to work out. But I'm just so grateful that you are here and that you are able to lend your expertise today. So Karla is an award-winning author. She is a wife, a mother. She is also a self-discovery coach and positive intelligence coach. And so I'm going to let her share more about herself and what she does. But before we do that, Karla, I always ask all of my guests,
hmm
what are you exuding today? So, the show is called She Exudes Now. So we are trying to uplift ourselves, share with others, encourage others. And, we may not be exuding all of the confidence and all of the faith, but we may want to share what we're hoping to exude.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Today I'm exuding trusting the process.
Mm,
Trusting the process. There's things that have come my way today that was beautiful and unexpected, and I had to
Mhm.
go with the flow. Right now,
Mhm.
my light keeps flickering on and on, but that is not going to stop us today to talk about what we have to talk about. So just even that, just being present
Mhm.
with you. There's so many distractions that I could be wrapped up in because it's not perfect, but it's not
Mhm.
about that today. It's being present, and we just going with the flow today.
Mhm. I love that, being present.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned, technical problems and things like that because, it just happens. Anything that can throw you off of your path and
Hmm.
just kind of put you in a bad mood and just kind of a negative headspace, that,
Hmm.
those things will happen. And
Hmm.
I've definitely experienced that as well. And my setup looks a little bit different today, but we're gonna roll with
We're rolling with it.
it.
In the name of Jesus, we rolling with it.
Exactly, exactly. So, Karla, I'm going to let you share more about yourself to go in depth about your bio, what you do, and what your experience with grief has been.
Yes, thank you so much. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
honored to be here with you and all of your audience here today. So, as you stated earlier, I am a certified self-discovery and mental fitness coach, and what that means is I help women who have gone through traumatic experiences but ready to move forward. Those experiences could be the loss of a loved one, divorce, right? Unemployment, things that just happen outside of our control, childhood trauma, but you've done the work and now you're ready to move forward. And that's where I come in as a coach to help you to understand where you are now and to fill in that gap to where you want to be. And I help you to discover your authentic self, uncover your values, because your values is what helps you to decide what am I going to say no to so I can say yes to myself, what you build your goals on, and just help you. Let's go back to all those dreams that you had that you suppressed because of what you went through, because we are not the experiences that we came from, right? And just helping you to just unclutter all of that and put a strategic plan in place to help you reach your goals. So that's what I do as a coach. And my experience with grief happened 3 years ago, November 27th, 2019. My mother died the day before Thanksgiving. She passed away from primary CNS melanoma, which is a very rare form of cancer. Less than 1% of melanomas are primary CNS melanoma. And so I went through the cycle of grief, the shock, the anger. I tiptoed even around depression. And as my family and I were packing her things, I found a collection of journals that she wrote. I didn't even know that she wrote journals. And I put them in chronological order. We were all going through the pandemic at the time. So we all had to take a pause, right? So I took that time to read her journals as her life story. And when I read her journals, I saw her more than just my mother. I also saw her earnest prayers to God coming on behalf of others. And I was like, no, people need to see this. But I wanted to be more than just her journals that people would read. I wanted to also write about my experience for anticipatory grief, because my grief happened way before she passed away. My grief happened when I saw her in that wheelchair and I was like, no, this is not my mother. So I write about all those feelings and emotions all the way up to when I was there, when she took her last breath, to her funeral, to what happens after the funeral, and then also my healing journey after her passing. And I wanted to write about that to help encourage others as they grieve. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I love what you said of you took a look at her journals, and that's an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. I'm sure you learned some things about your mother that you probably didn't even know.
Absolutely.
But then also, using your journals and reflecting on your experience to come to writing your own book in your journal as well. And so your book is called The Day My Heart Turned Blue. Is that right?
Yes, it is. The day my heart turned blue, healing after the loss of my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right before Thanksgiving. Now, did you know that it was coming to an end so soon?
No, probably a week before Thanksgiving, my aunt called me and said that the hospice nurse said it it may come soon, but she wanted me to come now.
Mm,
So family and I, we packed everything up, and for a few days, I was just sitting at her bedside
mm,
and just basically just waiting, playing gospel music. Friends came by. My mother was beloved by so many people. She
mm,
showed her love through cooking, hospitality, and opening her doors. So I come from a Caribbean family. My mother was
mm.
Trinidadian, so she always had stewed chicken, curry chicken, rice and peas, fried plantains. So many people loved her, and she did mission trips. So many
Mm,
people came in and out the room to pay their respects and to just love on her. And so while I was holding her hand and um uh talking with my aunt and my husband, and my youngest son was there too, I noticed her breathing stopped. And this is where this is where that grief looks different on so many people, because some people laugh, some people cry, but my aunt just had me cracking up. I could tell I was at peace, that
mm.
her passing in my mind, and this is how I dealt with it, that she was going to be with her Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So when her breath stopped, I remember my aunt like hitting her chest, talking about, "You just come back, fight, fight, fight." And I was just like, "Oh my, no, you didn't just hit your
Oh.
sister chest." And then my aunt, and I just want to say this quickly, my aunt was cleaning out her ears, and the hospice nurse was like, "Well, I did bathe her. I took care of her, my aunt." And I was just shaking her head, no, because my aunt like, her ears aren't clean. And then my mother opened her eyes, because the doctors put her in a coma, but she opened her eyes one last time. She took
Mm.
one sigh, deep breath, and just one sigh, let it out, and that was her final breath.
Oh,
And my
wow.
aunt in that moment said, when I cleaned her ears, she heard the trumpets of
Oh,
the Lord
wow.
calling her home. And I just busted out laughing. I was like, "Auntie, that was it. You cleaned her ears, and so now she can hear the
She heard
trumpets."
the
But
trumpets.
yeah, exactly. But but I was just laughing. I was laughing, and then the hospice nurse, I heard, "You okay?" Because we had to let them know that she passed away.
Mhm.
But it was just the beauty of that. She witnessed me take my first breath into this world, and
Mm,
I witnessed her take her last breath. It was the circle of life. She was even there when my
mm,
first son was born. Her first grandson was born. I was honored that I was allowed to even be in that moment with her.
mm.
And when the pandemic hit, I grieved all over again for those who couldn't be there with
Oh,
their loved
yeah.
ones because of the
Mhm.
pandemic, to see their last breath. Yeah.
Right.
That's why it was so important for me
Wow.
to write this book and encourage others, because it's you want to be there, right? You want
Mhm.
to be there, and that pandemic didn't allow a lot of people to be there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, we talked about this before when we chatted before the interview, that we were just gonna just kind of let this conversation go as it goes.
Mhm.
And so you said something that just really spoke to me, how you found some beauty in what was going on, and how you just really looked at the full circle of
Yeah.
what was going on. And so I believe, even though grieving is so difficult and you miss your loved ones so much, I believe if you focus on the beauty of
Yeah.
the time that you had with that individual, then things will be a little bit easier for you to manage. You can find those opportunities to smile, to laugh, to appreciate,
Mhm.
the things that they did for you or that you did for them.
Mhm.
Even if your relationship with that individual wasn't the best, you can find some beauty in it. Or you can even say, I'm glad that my loved one is now at rest. There is no more suffering. The caregivers don't have to worry anymore. So I really love that you mentioned that. And then you also made a good point as well about those who haven't had the opportunity to see their loved ones right before they passed away. So that adds another layer of sadness and grief and wondering, what were they doing at the last moment? What were they thinking? I never got
Mhm.
to tell them that I love them,
Mhm.
or that I'm sorry. All a host of other things. What would you say to an individual who feels like, oh my gosh, I just never got to say goodbye, or I never got to tell them this, and it's weighing on them so badly?
Yeah. Yeah, such a great question, and we put a lot of faith in that we are gonna come back to our homes this
Mhm.
evening, right? We just never know. But if we
Mhm.
focus, and you said something pointed there that we focus on the lost, right?
Mhm.
We don't have I don't have an answer to give for that, but what about changing your perspective to every hello you had, every laughter you
Mhm.
had, those memories that you had. Hold on to that because we just don't know what the final time was, right?
Mhm.
We don't know. Only God knows. We don't know. So
Mhm.
I just challenge you to just change your perspective. I know it's hard, but focus on everything you gained from their
Mhm.
life, from their legacy, right? Those
Mhm.
goodbyes that you did have, those hellos that you did have, those warm embrace, those hugs, the highs and the lows, just the journey of life that you had with your loved one. But if we focus just solely on, I didn't get to do this, or I wondered if
Mhm.
they know, they're with you. They know, right?
Mhm.
They know.
Mhm.
Hold on to everything that you gained from that love.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Don't
Mhm.
focus on everything that you didn't get to do.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Because through any traumatic event, right, we focus on everything that we lost, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
financial, oh, I lost all this money. But hey, you are now a subject expert on what not to do with your
Yeah.
money, or what better decisions to make next time, right? Or what
Mhm.
did that divorce teach you? Did it teach you
Mhm.
resilience? Did it teach you empowerment? Did it teach you now to watch out for red flags that you might have missed before? Did it teach you
Mhm.
to love on yourself more? Because we got to love ourselves first before we can start entering a relationship with others. How do we teach someone to love us if we don't even know how to love ourselves? So we
Right.
got to focus on what our story has taught, it has been teaching us, and what the story of our loved one has taught us, right?
Mm.
Because it's a
Mhm.
circle of life.
It is. It is. Just mindset. Mindset is so
Absolutely.
big in so
Absolutely.
many areas of our life. It is huge.
Hmm.
And this kind of segues into the next question about, grief coming in so many different forms. So I know from just myself, I have gone through a divorce and experienced grief with that. As I mentioned earlier, I just lost a significant other. This was someone that we were hoping to get married.
Yeah.
So it was someone that was really significant in my life, and just all of a sudden, lost him. And there's been other traumatic things that have happened where I felt like things have just kind of been taken away from me, and I didn't get a chance to really have a say in it, or to do anything about it. And so, someone could be grieving the loss of, an unborn child, or a job, a home, any of those things. And so I know that there may be different levels of grief depending on what you're going through, but the commonality is that it is going to be like an emotional roller coaster. There's going to be some things that are going to come up. One moment you're going to feel positive and you're going to feel like, you can take on the world, and you've got this person, supporting you even though they're not, physically there anymore. The next moment you are going to be thinking about all of the things that you didn't get a chance to do, or just sad because they're not there.
Hmm.
So my question to myself was, well, what do you do in those type of instances? But you just mentioned, focus on the good things, change your mindset. And when those thoughts begin to come, remind yourself that it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry for this moment. But after I'm done with that, I'm going to go right back to thinking about all of the good experiences that I had.
Absolutely. We gotta give ourselves moment to acknowledge those feelings, because grief again is not something we can busy away, deal with it later. Oh, it's been 3 years since my mother has passed away. I should be over with this now. No, it's a reminder that love never dies. So when those
Mhm.
feelings bubble up, and it's gonna come like waves, when those feelings bubble up, take a moment to feel it. Take a moment. I even, for me, when my mother's birthday is coming up, I take
Mhm.
that time off. I know everyone can't do that, but for me, I'm blessed to be able to take that time off because I don't want to save an Excel file. I don't want to save anything that has 1026 on it, because
Mm.
every time I save that date or every time I respond to that email and I see 1026, I'm reminded of her. And now I can't focus on work anymore because I need to give grief its attention
Mhm.
for
Mm.
that moment. And I just take a time to just be, right? Take the day off and just be, whether I cry, whether I this year what I did for her birthday, my mother can grow anything. She would throw seeds in the back of just throw them in her backyard. She have a papaya tree just
Mhm.
like that in her backyard. She can grow anything. So I'm not even a green thumb, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna challenge myself and start getting some plants and repotting plants. And I
Mhm.
really found myself just getting wrapped in a moment. I was like, I see why she loved
Oh,
gardening and
wow.
planting, because
Mhm.
you get wrapped in a moment, right?
Mhm.
So even though I'm grieving, shed tears, all of that, but I'm still doing something to honor her memory, and it's not
Mhm.
lost. It's not lost on me.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
Love that. So you kind of mentioned this a little bit about some ways that you coped, but what was your grieving process like? Because I know everyone may be grieving differently. You know, some may be more quiet and reserved and just kind of want to stay to themselves. Other people might find more comfort in being around others. So, what was your grieving process like?
Yeah, well, because of my past with depression, my first
Mm,
reaction, right? Reaction, not response. Reaction was to just isolate and be
mhm,
by myself. And I have to be
mhm,
mindful when when I want to isolate, that's what the enemy likes to get a hold of me, right? I'm
mhm,
isolated from everyone. So I was blessed to have my husband. I was blessed to have my sons, my friends, even friends say, hey, come out and just come out with us to eat, right? Just come out. We're having a just a small house gathering, right? On the day of Thanksgiving, my mother had two best friends. They were called the Golden Girls, and at one of the Golden Girls' house, she was like, "Nope, you and the family coming over to eat Thanksgiving." I didn't want to go. I just wanted to just curl up and hide. But we had the most beautiful Thanksgiving.
mhm.
We laughed, we joked, we had Trinidadian food, which made everything better, right? And so having a support system really helped me, and isolating myself would have been the worst thing for me because I dealt with depression in the past. So yeah, so that Thanksgiving, first Thanksgiving surrounded by family and friends of my mother in Houston, the first Christmas was tough because my
Mhm,
mother always came to my home for Christmas. She loved being with her grandchildren, and so I didn't want to cook. I catered everything, right? I didn't care if it wasn't seasoned. I told my family, look, I can't cook and do all this stuff right now. So y'all better throw some
mm.
salt and pepper on it and call it a day, right? But I allowed myself to grieve. I was proud of myself because my husband also lost his mother before we were married. So I never got to meet my mother-in-law. My son doesn't know his grandmother. So he was going through a cycle of
Mhm,
grief. It was triggering, right?
mhm,
So we hugged each other, we cried, but I showed up for myself when I was ready and showed up for myself with my family by just being, like I said
yes.
earlier, what I want to exude, just being present with them in love with no expectations of the perfect Christmas holiday dinner,
Mhm,
right? No, we ain't doing all this right now. This is what y'all getting when I'm able to start my healing journey, then we'll do all that stuff. And I did the
mhm.
following holiday, but for that first Christmas, nope, I cried. I ate that catered food, unseasoned crate food, and I was just with my family, right?
Yes.
We loved on each other. We laughed. We played games. I went in the room and cried for a minute, came back out. But I just allowed grief to just be and show up and just acknowledge it.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
that's so important,
Mhm.
especially with you knowing your background and you knew that, okay, I have this history with depression. So isolating myself is not going to be good for me.
Right.
And what, from my experience, I will say that you will likely go through some sort of depression as you're grieving.
Mhm.
So it's going to just compound, especially if you have had some of these issues before, or
Mhm.
maybe have had
Mhm.
issues with individuals leaving you, or, even if it's, the absence of a job or a home, whatever it may be, then you may have, some issues with losing things and having anxiety.
Yep.
So, what do you want to do? You want to kind of get in front of that. And so, isolating yourself is just really time for the enemy to start working, getting
Mhm.
in your head and
Mhm.
working and telling you all these things. You're never going to be better. This is it. Woe is me. And really just wanting you to be stuck. And
Yep.
so you need to do whatever it is that you can do to try to combat that.
Absolutely.
One thing that I did, in addition to, not isolating myself, one thing that I have done is to not be so hard on myself
Yep.
and feel like I have to keep doing things.
Mhm.
And so for me, that is so difficult because I'm always doing something. That's just part of my nature. That's what I thrive on. And, if I've got downtime, I try to be productive and, try to do things for my business, whatever it is. And I found myself just feeling so tired and just, not really having a lot of motivation. And so there have been days when I had to tell myself, okay, Alicia, it's time to get up, do this and that. And there have been times when I thought, okay, it's been all day long and I've just been sitting up here journaling or watching Netflix, and I need to get up. And then I tell myself, you know what? I shouldn't even be concerned about that right now
Yep.
because I am grieving. I am
That's right.
allowed to grieve.
That's right.
Yes, this is not the norm for me. This is not something that I would ever do. But if I don't take this time now, I could potentially rush something and rush or miss, healing opportunities. So just giving myself grace and saying, you need to be okay with just chilling out.
Mhm, and I'm proud of you for that, for
Thank you.
recognizing that, because when you're able to extend grace and compassion and empathy for yourself, then you're able to extend it onto others.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and people who have a hard time with showing themselves grace, I challenge them to keep a childhood picture of them in front of them, a childhood picture, anything under the age of, 8, if you have it, right?
Mhm.
Would you tell that little girl, "Girl, you better get up, get this done"? No. You would comfort her and console her until she's ready to
Mhm.
stand on her own. That little girl is still inside of you,
Yeah.
right? You're
Mhm.
not beating her up and smacking her around and telling her, "What are you doing? Get with
Yeah.
it. Get over this."
Yeah.
Right? So why are we doing it to ourselves?
Right.
Our adult self, right?
Yeah, we often talk to ourselves so badly. We say
Absolutely.
things to ourselves that we would not say to others. So this is definitely an opportunity for us to show ourselves some self-compassion.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Hmm. You mentioned that you had family around. So not only during the holidays, but just in general, you have a husband,
Mhm.
you have children as well. You have the support of, sound like your aunts and other family members as
Mm.
well. There are some individuals that are kind of going through, this challenging time on their own. And so we did kind of have a comment here about one of the challenging things that this person has experienced while grieving is that they still have to be a mother. They have to
Yep.
still show up for their children
Mhm.
and do all the things, but I'm sure they don't want to do all the things. For me, people gave me DoorDash gift cards and brought meals or gave me prepared meals and I just had to throw them in the oven. And that was so much to me because I just couldn't cook.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do the things
Yeah.
that I would normally do. So what do you say to someone who doesn't really have a lot of support and they're still expected to, be there for, say, their children while they're
Yeah.
grieving?
Yeah, the beauty of this is you get to create what your support team look like. Mine just happened to be my family, but they are friends, they are neighbors, there are people of in your faith community. And if you don't have that, there are bereavement services there that are available to you. I live in Durham, North Carolina. Duke has Duke bereavement services that are offered free to the community,
Mhm.
workshops as well. Google Duke bereavement services, and that's just one organization, but there's lots
Mm,
of organizations out there that you can create your own tribe of support and community, right?
mhm.
And also too, for those who care but don't know how to help someone that's grieving, instead of saying, hey, if you need anything, call me, they don't know what they need right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
right? So let's reframe that question too, or statement to, what can I take off of your to-do
Mm,
list today?
mhm,
What can I take off of your plate? We have Miss Pixie saying that she has a 9-year-old that still expects her to be mom. Hey,
mhm,
how about a sleepover? Right?
mm,
How about, you
mhm,
know what? I got carpool for you for the next two
mm,
weeks. How about just while she's grieving, hey, we have our sister over here that's grieving, let's wrap our heads around, put some ideas at what we can do. Hey, we can
mhm,
start a carpool service, like you said, we can do a meal service. Let's create a meal train, let's put it out there. There's organizations that even ship food,
mhm,
frozen meals. All they got to do is just pop it in. Hey, let's take her out to a movie. Hey, let's just come over and just have a girl sleepover, grown
mhm.
women sleepover, right?
Yeah.
Right? Just there's so many different ideas that you can do to create a community for someone who doesn't even know the ask. But there's
Right.
also organizations out there that can help you. So on my website, revealhealthrive.com, if you click on resources, I have grief resources out there for you. I even have Duke bereavement services. There are brochures out there that you can download with their phone number. Call them for the free community bereavement services workshops. There's other mental health organizations that can help you out there, and there are lots of free resources out there too. We just don't know about them. So I just made a
Mhm.
resource page where people can go out there, right? And
Yeah.
also you may want to even jot names down of people who have said, hey, I'm willing to help,
Mhm.
right? That way you can start mapping out your support system to lean on, right?
Exactly.
You're not in this by yourself. I promise you. Sometimes people just don't know what to say, and also when you're grieving, you don't even know what you need right
Mhm.
now, right? But you're not
Mhm.
alone.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard it, and I know it's a common thing because people don't really know what to say. They
Right.
want to be helpful,
Right.
and they want. A lot of times, they do have the best intentions. Maybe they don't know what to do or
Mhm.
what to say, but if they can take some of the guesswork out for you and just do, volunteer, whatever it is it's going to be. If they feel like, oh, I've got some extra cash, I'm gonna pay a bill, or I'm just gonna do dinner for this individual, just do it, because chances are they will appreciate it and they will love it, and it will save them from having to figure it out.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, taking that list of those that said, let me know if there's anything that I can do to help. So here's the issue, and this was my issue. If you're grieving, you are going to have to let go of the mentality that says, I have to do everything on my own and I'm not going to accept help. So if you have been one in the past that, someone has volunteered to help, or you're always the one helping and you don't normally receive, let go of that. Because again, this is a whole new experience. This is something totally different, and you are in need. Let someone take off some of that burden for you. And I love how you said, if you've got a child, maybe someone offered a slumber party, or to
Mhm.
help with the pickup and the drop off to school. Normally, you may say, "Oh, that's okay. You don't have to do that." But in this time, say yes because
Yeah.
that might be an opportunity for you to just get a little bit more rest or, just something that you can take off your plate. Anything to alleviate some stress is going to be helpful.
Absolutely, because that's a trauma response, right? The hyper independence. No, I got it. No,
Mm,
I got it. Because we got to be mindful of that. Because I know for me it is because there's been issues in my childhood and my past where people didn't show up the way they were supposed to show up. So now I
hmm.
just put it on myself. I'm gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? That's a trauma response, right?
Yeah.
We were born into community. We need community. The same community that has hurt us, we also need that community to heal us. We got to be mindful of
Mm,
that, right? There's
mm,
people out there that want to help you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Mhm.
So, speaking specifically about the holidays, we mentioned this a little bit on Instagram, but why do you feel like there's a little bit more sadness? There might be a little bit more grief during this time of year for those that may be suffering from a loss. Why do you feel that it's a heightened
Yeah.
time of emotions?
Yeah, because it's the end of the year, work is slowing down, people are going on vacation. Post-pandemic, we don't have the Black Friday sales and all that stuff, people camping out overnight because companies what now employees to get rest. So we're now forced to do another pause, right?
Hmm.
And then with that pause also comes the holiday parties. People are asking, "Oh, where you're going? What are you doing? Whose house you're going to? What are you
Hmm.
cooking? What do you have planned?" You turn on the TV, every Hallmark a movie is on, Christmas movie is on with the love of their life coming back,
Yeah.
everyone exhibiting the Christmas spirit. There's family pajamas now from the dog all the way
Mhm.
up to the daddy. Everyone has the hot chocolate, and then you look into your left and your right, and that loved one is not there. That
Right.
cup is empty.
Mhm.
That recliner now that daddy or such and such or grandma used to sit on is now empty. Right, because
Mhm.
you're now pausing now for the holidays. Everything is closed, so we're reminded now of the importance of togetherness during that holiday season,
Mhm.
and that's why it's so difficult,
Yeah.
right? My
Mhm.
mother would come with her suitcase full of all her spices, herbs, fruits, and everything she needed to cook a holiday meal was in that suitcase, right? And not picking her up. I'm not picking her up from the airport anymore, right? I'm
Mhm.
constantly reminded of what was.
Mhm.
It's not there anymore. That's why it's so difficult. That's why some people
Mhm.
can't wait for it to be January 2nd so
Oh,
we
yeah.
get back so we can just get back to this, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody
Yep.
talking about cuddle season and stuff like that this time of year, you know what I mean? You grieving the loss of a loved one, you don't have that,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, and you're
Mhm.
constantly reminded of it. Like January 2nd couldn't come fast enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely that togetherness. Another thing is tradition.
Yes.
So if you are grieving the loss of a marriage or a relationship, then you may be grieving the fact that you had traditions
Mhm.
or that you were creating some. Or maybe, you just got into this relationship and you guys had all these plans and now it's a no go, and so you're just kind of lost, like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Right.
So in those instances, I would say begin to create your own traditions.
Yeah.
It may look a little bit different. It may not be what you planned or necessarily what you wanted, but the reality is that you're in a different space now. So did you have to create any new traditions? I know your mother was the famed cook in the family, but
Yes, absolutely. I love that. New traditions, new season. So what I've done, you can't see it now, but to the right of me, I have a live Christmas tree. My mother loved the live Christmas tree, and it's decorated in blue because my mother's favorite color was blue. So we have blue, silver ornaments in honor of her. My mother also had handmade ornaments of our grandchildren. I made sure that's on the tree,
Mhm.
right? She always made this dressing and she gave me the recipe over the phone, and that's like the one thing I managed to mimic just like her. So
Mm.
I make sure I do that. She even put some spices and put them in the freezer for me. So I still have spices from my mother and from my mother's garden and stuff like that. So I make sure those things are incorporated in there, right? And just being present is like a new tradition for us. We don't have any expectations of what this Christmas is. So this is the Christmas agenda. No, we're just being, and we're just having fun with each other. So yeah, just creating that and honoring honoring our loved one. Yeah, those are the type of things that we're doing now, because I have a new perspective now that she's passed away, right?
Hmm.
My why is different. My motivation is different for what I'm doing. Like, just understanding, being present, and just creating new memories, new experiences. That's what I'm on now since my
Hmm.
mother has passed away. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I know one other thing that I've done differently than I've done in the past is, normally you'd miss some of those conversations that you would have with your loved one, and especially when it comes around the holiday season,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, such and such did this, or I'm planning for this, that, and the other, and so sometimes it's hard because you miss having that person to talk to.
Yeah.
So what I have done is I have started one particular journal that I write, and it's just notes and conversations to my loved one. And it's things that I would have shared with him, and so it was, it's just like I was having a conversation with them. And so I'm getting, those things out of my head and I'm putting them onto paper. But it's also doing something to my spirit as well.
Yeah.
I know that he's not here physically, and, he won't see, what I'm writing, but it's just something about being able to have that pseudo conversation that is healing for me. So I don't feel like, oh, I don't have anybody to talk to about this. And so while, I may not always continue to do that, it's just kind of helping me get through this particular time when it's so important to have those conversations and to feel like you have someone around you.
Yeah. What I love about that idea is that you are actively participating in your grief through journaling, through your own creative expression. I love that.
Hmm.
That also
Hmm.
sounds to me like that's a book and a movie
I was kind of thinking,
within
I was like,
itself.
I don't know how it would turn it into a book, but whatever God has for me is for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It reminds me of the movie that's on Netflix that's based on a real story, true story, with Zoe Zendala.
Oh, the
Yeah, I forget the name of it.
from scratch.
From Scratch, yes.
Yes,
Beautiful love
tearjerker.
story and
Mm-hmm.
true story. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so there is a popular phrase that grief has no expiration. So, what does that mean to you? And what kind of take do you get on that type of expression?
Grief has no expiration. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it means that we are going to forever live with grief. Again, it's not, "Okay, my mom, passed away 3 years ago, I should be over this," or "Next 10 years, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I won't be grieving anymore." No. That is thy first mother figure, the first love,
Mm-hmm.
like, of my, life, in terms of, maternal love. I'll never forget my mother's love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been
Mm-hmm.
saying it over and over, grief is a reminder that love never dies. I am going to live with grief, but it's gonna look different for me, because my journey is, and my path of it is a little further along, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each year. So it doesn't have an expiration, because love is the greatest force there is, right? And so her legacy of love continues on in me, her grandchildren, her friends, her family. It will
Mm-hmm.
continue on, right? There's no expiration on that.
Right.
None whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that take. There's no expiration on it. The grief, which is love, There's no expiration on your love for that individual. And just to know that it's still going to be with you. Like we
Mhm.
mentioned before, it can be several years down the line, may look a little bit differently. But especially during these holidays and birthdays, things of that nature, it's going to be a little difficult. And
Yeah.
so we can't say that, in 1 year, things are going to be different for you. For everyone, it's going to look different. But just know and anticipate that you're always going to have some sort of emotion behind it because you're grieving something that you really lost, that had a significant impact on you and that you loved. So it's always going to kind of be there, and you're not. The goal is not to just erase it from your mind
Mhm.
totally. It's to have that individual or that experience stay with you, and to, as we talked about before, appreciate the good things and the good times that you had.
Absolutely, and it once you think like, "Oh, I've conquered this," oh, it'll show up. I was
Mm-hmm.
at my, husband's aunt's, uh, funeral, last month, and I would the funeral was so beautiful, so moving, the tributes, the testimony of her life of service, and I was good. I was clapping with the praise and worship team, but when they said, "We're going to Golden Corral to eat," because that's the only place that's gonna house everybody, because the church is full, when I got to Golden Corral, I started crying, bawling my eyes out because that's where we went to eat after my mother's funeral, and I haven't been
Mm,
there since because the same
mm.
thing. That was the only place that could take everybody,
Yeah.
all the family, and there was someone else, another family member that was at the table, and it was her mother's favorite restaurant as well. So we both, with tears in our eyes, I said, "Girl, we gonna cry, but we gonna eat these yeast
Yeah.
rolls."
Right.
And our mama's honor, we gonna eat these yeast rolls. But who would have thought at a Golden
Mm-hmm.
Corral, grief would smack me upside the head?
Yeah.
But it was just the feeling of the love,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just being in the midst of everyone grieving and that feeling of love, and then the just seeing the name, the Golden
Mm-hmm.
Corral, hit me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this was the last time that my Trini family, my US family, we all came together for my mom. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
grief will sneak up on you. That's why you have to just give it give it the space and honor it. Yeah.
Yeah, it will absolutely sneak up on you
Mhm.
at the most unlikely times.
Mhm.
I remember, oh gosh, going through my divorce, and it had been several months after, and I was just at the grocery store, and I overheard this guy talking to, it sounded like his wife on the phone, and he was shopping and asking her, what things she needed to make dinner. And it was actually right before Thanksgiving during this time, and I remember just something just hit me. And it was kind of like, I remember when, such and such used to call me and ask me those types of questions. And then when I
Mhm.
got home, I put away the groceries, I just began to bawl and cry. And it's like, why? Something that small that just came so quickly, why would it have that type of effect on me? I don't have the answer to the why, but what I do know, as we mentioned, it can come in many different forms and hit you anytime. So you have to be prepared for having the feeling, and then knowing how to kind of get off the depression train or the sadness train, once it comes, because that's kind of the issue, is that you want to have the feeling, but you don't want to stay on it forever. You want to be able to
Yeah.
move past it.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're staying on it too long and you find it difficult to do simple tasks as getting out of the bed, brushing your teeth, eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we get so sad we don't want to eat, or you find yourself pushing everyone away, can't do
Mm-hmm.
daily activities. Please seek professional help from a
Yes.
therapist, right? To be able to help you deal with those feelings.
Right. Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's something that I do want to make sure that we mention as well. It doesn't have to be, months down the line. You may want to do it immediately,
Yeah.
right after you've had a loss.
Mhm.
Seek that professional help and that guidance, because, you may think that, oh, I'm dealing with this okay. And then, 3 months later, it kind of sneaks up on you. And now you've lost your appetite, you lost your kind of will
Mhm.
to get up and do things. And so, for your mental health, especially if you're a caregiver, and the mental health and the safety of others, go get that help. Talk to somebody about what's going on. Don't just try to do it all yourself,
Mhm.
because I'm sorry, a significant thing that you're going through,
Yeah,
and so we don't want to belittle it in any way.
that's right.
So make sure that you get the help you need.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in addition to that, there are, some biblical perspectives, and I always want to leave people with some scriptures,
Mhm.
things to kind of give people inspiration and hope. And I know that you probably have one that you love, that you think is really helpful when you're going through a mourning situation. I have one that's actually in the She Exudes devotional,
Mhm.
and this particular devotional is called Hope in Mourning. And so the scripture comes from Revelations 21:4. It says, He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. So, that is talking about the coming of Christ, but it's just a reminder that He will wipe every tear from your eyes. So
Yes.
you may be very downtrodden and sad, and it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to scream. Give those things to God, and He will be there to lift your burdens. And eventually, it won't be as painstaking.
Yeah.
Eventually, things will get better.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. In my bereavement companion journal for the day my heart turned blue, in chapter 4, there's God's promises, and I have Bible verses that are related to grief and also healing. And so, one verse is 2 Corinthians 1 3 through 4. Blessed be the God and our Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our afflictions, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. And I have a little paragraph right above this that just says, one name of God in the Hebrew language is Jehovah Rapha, which means the God who heals. God is also the great comforter who provides comfort to us in our darkest times. As he comforts us, he gives us the strength to comfort others in their grief as well. And I feel like that has been my intention with the book and the
Hmm.
journal, and also my mission as well.
Hmm.
And the
That's
reason why
beautiful.
we're here today.
Yes, absolutely. He is the great comforter. He comforts us, and he gives us the ability to help to bring comfort to others. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, do you have anything going on? I know you have your book where everyone can find that. Is it at revealhealandthrive.com?
Yep. So
Okay.
you can click on the links at revealhealthrive.com. I do have links there. And just click on books. Also, the
Hmm.
book is available everywhere worldwide, anywhere books are sold. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask the person there at the bookstore, "Hey, I would like to purchase this book." They will ship it to you. It's also available also if you're in Durham, your local libraries, and also online as an ebook at libraries as well.
Mm,
Yes.
awesome. 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 Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to have this conversation. It has been really inspirational. It has been just a great conversation to talk to someone who's actually walked through it, and understands, and has walked through it right before the holidays. And so, just your take on, your outlook, should say, on grief, and how you're going to honor your mother going forward, and just your spirit about it all is just beautiful. And so I hope that people have been able to see that, and I hope that it would be encouraging to others as well.
Thank you so much. And all of this came through healing, right?
Hmm.
I had to heal first. I had to go through it to get to the other side of healing, right? So
Hmm.
once I was able to accept what happened to the death of my mother, then that allowed me to open my heart to start dealing with all this stuff that I had in me
Mhm.
that has been suppressing for so long. And that allowed healing to take place, that I'm at a point now where I can help others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So definitely, as we said, do the work. Do the work. Talk to who you need to talk to,
Yes.
so that you can begin to accept what has happened, get the healing that you need, and that you can be able to move forward and love and still keep that loved one near and dear, but you're able to just move on and function at the best of your ability. So
Absolutely. And I
thank
want to
you so
say I'm
much. Uh-huh.
proud of you. I'm
Thank
so proud
you.
of you. You're so courageous. This is raw. This is still new, but
Mhm.
I'm so proud of you for just going forward in this, right? Even in your pain, and continuing to turn that pain into purpose as you're
Mhm.
continuing to heal, because healing is not this destination we get to. It's a journey that we go through.
Right.
So I applaud you for
Thank
everything that
you. Thank you so much.
you're
Just doing
welcome.
it for the Lord.
Yes, yes,
I
yes, yes,
appreciate it. Thank you so
yes.
much.
Mhm.
Everyone, have a great night, and we will see you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye.